Hi, my name is Kevin, and I collect old irons. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, and when I travel, I like to visit other iron collectors. Believe it or not, I'm not the only one. Here in Lincoln, Nebraska, there is Deb and John Harper. Deb is the collector, John is the facilitator, I guess.
Yes, I support all the different types of collections and make sure they're organized and keep everything in order.
Okay, sort of the reverse of Kate and I suppose, right?
It kind of sounds that way.
We met the Harpers in our PICA meeting video, so we might, if you have seen that video, you already know something about them as collectors. They have been collecting for about 30 years, and you don't just collect irons, do you?
No, I don't. I like toy sewing machines, old Santas and old Christmas items, and I love green depression glass and crockery.
And you like a lot of small irons, but I see a lot of large irons and a lot of other irons here.
I do have a lot of other larger irons, but the small ones are kind of my fancy.
Let me say a little about the collection. This is what I would call a mid-level collection. There are some 300 or more irons here, well chosen, of good quality, but nothing particularly expensive. One thing is always interesting in visiting a collection is to see how they are displayed, and there are some interesting ideas here. This is an old store display from a shoe store, which it turns out makes a very good display of irons. As we know, the Harpers really like the small and toy irons, and this is a very interesting way to show these off. This is a rotating display. You see these things at store closings, and as Deb is showing here, it's a very efficient way to show off a lot of irons. Deb has also assembled a nice collection of small sewing machines. I see these in antique shops and always think there must be some nice collections out there. Here is one of those. Your last name is Harper.
Yeah.
Did you know that there are some Harper irons out there?
Yes, we do.
Ah! The Harper irons were named after James M. Harper. I regret that we've been unable to find a picture of the man, but Harper was not just a manufacturer. He was an inventor and a prolific one. Here is his 1872 patent for a fly trap. I think this was his first patent. He obtained this at age 30. What Harper did was retained ownership of his patents and then licensed these patents to manufacturers, very much as we saw of Susan R. Knox in a previous video. And as with Susan Knox, he was willing to defend his patents against those who infringed. This 1879 lawsuit was against Cook and Stevens, who made these fly traps without giving Harper his due. And here is the 1906 patent for what may have been one of its most significant inventions: a caster to go beneath the stove legs for easy movement, or maybe to move pianos or so forth. He sold a lot of these, judging by the number of these currently up on eBay. And here's a couple of these that John bought especially for this video. It says Harper Cast, handy Harper Cast, and there's a patent date on the back, very ruggedly made. And how much did you pay for these?
I found them on eBay, $40 delivered for 4 of them.
Good deal.
Well, that's what I thought, because you see the prices vary from $20 over to $100 a piece. And when I saw the 4 for 40 delivered to the home, I thought, well, I'm going for it.
And that's the lesson. You look around. By 1897, Harper started the Harper Supply Company at 40 Dearborn Street in Chicago. This store was open until Harper's death in 1928. And he licensed his growing number of patents to the Chicago Hardware Foundry Company at 2500 Commonwealth Avenue, which manufactured his and other products. And these products eventually included irons. Harper's primary patent for a sat iron came in 1907. This was a detachable handle iron with an asbestos-lined shoe. The asbestos was in the shoe, not in an external hood as done with the asbestos Dover irons. You might remember also from a previous video that Nelson R. Streeter patented and marketed a similar shoe with asbestos within. So the Harpers made detachable handle irons, and that's all that they made. And these irons are not very common. There's a lot of variety, but not a great deal of variety. What was it that made the Harper irons sell? And we might remind ourselves there are some other well-established side iron companies that sold a lot of irons. This is the Ober irons, a very efficient iron. It's one of its blessings is that the iron comes off and goes on very easily, but there's a problem with that, and that is that the handle does come off easily, perhaps not when you intend to, and perhaps while your foot is underneath. And I'm sure those kinds of accidents happen quite often. So what the Harper iron has, and I think this was their selling point, was they had a handle that came off in a two-step process. You lift this up and you slide it down this little slide here, and that was a safety feature and probably saved a lot of feet. Before we go any further, I'd like to call your attention to these tags. The documentation of your collection is always a tough thing. It takes a little bit of time and so forth, and we will see some of that in a future video. What Deb and John do is they keep their information on a little tag. It might include the original price tag they had, the auction number, and some other information about the provenance of the piece. And this is a pretty reasonable idea for others of us perhaps to follow. So this is again a relatively minor group. I only have one of these in my own collection, but if you focus on these, you'll find that there's quite a history and quite a lot of different varieties. Let's just take a look at a few of them right here. This one is the Harper number 1, patent pending. Again, we've already seen how the handle goes off here, and it has a 1907 date on the shoe. Here is another Harper number 1, and this is a sleeve iron, and this one's nicely chromed. I think that's the original chrome. It's in very pretty condition. Here is a smaller one. I've never seen one of these before. This is a flat iron called the Daisy. Harper, Chicago, it reads. Harper number 3. And we have a couple sleeve irons. This one says the Harper, Chicago, says Navy on the front. Again, pointed in the front. A little bit smaller for petite work. And then this one is a small iron. I would not call it a toy. Probably for the work you do between buttons. And you pull this off. Let me get this. And it pulls the handle off. There's just a little slide that comes down onto this screw, very much like a Dover iron. Not very uncommon. They have several in their collection, and they have subtly different kinds of knobs and so forth. And then the last one to show in this particular row is something a little different. It's got the Mrs. Potts semicircular handle here. The latch mechanism again is a little bit different as well. And this is solid. This does not have the asbestos on the inside. And again, it says Harper, patent applied for. This was a successful enough design to be improved upon over the passage of time. This is a 1910 patent that does not have the sliding mechanism, but rather something more in the Mrs. Potts style latch. Here is a later 1910 patent for a Harper iron with a Dover style hood and latch. And this predates the Dover patent, so this may have been Harper's idea. By the way, I have not seen any physical specimens of these to show that these designs were actually marketed, but I would suspect they were in smaller numbers. And as with other detachable types, there was a mix of bases, and these could typically be sold in sets. Note that this ad illustrates a couple of ordinary bases, perhaps these were of different weights, and a sleeve iron. And the ad also includes a nice illustration of the shoe. And what happens when you focus on some particular category is you find some oddballs. And I have two here they do not have the original handles with them. It's just the shoes. This one reads the Challenge. It holds the heat with the usual 1907 patent date, but a different company markings. This is from the W.H. Howell Company, Geneva, Illinois. And we met William Howell. We talked about the foundries in a previous video. He sold all kinds of irons, and this was being done in a factory near to him, Illinois, and he might have contracted to have some with his markings done. I'm going to guess that the factory might have been making these, but it might be that the Harper Supply Company sold the handles. So Harper's making some good money on this as well. And here's another one. This has no markings at all, no idea what really is going on here, but it is the Harper type with the Harper little piece here. And my guess is that some small company was making these on their own, probably licensed from Harper. Harper's a little bit litigious. And again, Harper was probably selling the handles by the gross, and so he was making some money as well. And we should say something about the Harper trivets. Odd shape. It says Harper on the both sides, and I was surprised in looking through the Deb and John collection here to find two different varieties. The variety here does not have the little lips on the side. This variety does have these two little pieces here. I've only seen these in this size. There might be some smaller ones out there, I don't know. And the Harper Company also merchandised, what are these things? Cooker of some kind? Actually, what it is this is the Harper Cooker and Satiron Heater, Chicago, patent date 1909. So you would put your bases in here and heat them. And here's another one. I've never seen these before. These are very interesting. This is again the Harper Satiron Heater and Cooker, Chicago, patented September 28th, 09. Interesting. And Harper patented, made, sold a lot of things. This is, on the bottom, it says the Harper Supply Company, North Chicago, patent pending. And what this is a mutt nutcracker. Put the nut in there, or your thumb if you like, and you can really do some damage to that. And I have been doing some research on these, looking around on eBay and so forth, and there are a fair number of these. They sold a bunch of these, and they usually go, whether they have the original markings or not, for $50 to $100 or more dollars. And there are also a variety of other companies that apparently picked up on the idea and made their own variations on this. Again, this one says Harper. Others usually do not have markings, but there's obviously a whole collecting category in its own right. Well, Harper invented, and the Harper Supply Company marketed all kinds of stuff. There are Harper doorknobs, furniture fittings, etc., etc. And there are some web pages on some of these fields, and we'll put some of those links in the description. But I was particularly interested to see the cast iron banks. I asked you if you wanted to buy one for your own collection that we could use in this video. How'd that go?
Well, I started researching it, and the first one I brought up was right at $2,400, and I just made a decision. That was a little more I wanted to pay for this part of this deal.
But that's something to know about and something to look for. And we are happy to do a video again. We're going to be doing some more pretty shortly, we hope. And please, if you're enjoying these, give the thumbs up, give the comments. Good for the algorithm and everything like that. And we will see you again. Thank you very much.